Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs, where we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are also amazing moms. Now, every week, I'm chatting with my guests about how they're killing it simultaneously as a business mogul and a mom, and we're listening to their life stories and incredible advice. Now, I don't know my next guest personally, but I feel like I do. This is the first time we're seeing each other face to face. But do I know all about Bunnie Hilliard? She is a celebrity in the book world, okay? She is the tenacious owner, founder, and as she calls it, shop girl of the delightful bookstore Brave and Kind. Now, this is in Decatur, Georgia. She started it in 2018, and she quickly saw it soar to become Atlanta's premier children's bookseller. And I'm proud to say that she carries some of my books too. Bunnie is a two-time HBCU grad. She's a wife, a mom of two, and she's here to share how and why she took the leap to become the owner, founder, shop girl of this incredible resource. Thank you so much for being here, Bunnie.
Yay! Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be in your presence today. I am obviously a big fan, and so when I got the call, the inquiry to join you, I was just tickled and super excited. So thank you for having me.
Well, I'm a bigger fan. I mean, we're just gonna fan on each other. It's gonna fan, because you're so incredible, and what you have done is so amazing. Everyone who's anyone loves and knows your bookstore, and that is a feat in itself. Before we get too far into the business side of things, I want to let people know who puts the mom in your mompreneur. Tell us about your family.
Oh, my family. Yes. Let's see. I'm married to Tony. We'll be married nearly 19 years here in the next couple of months. And I know that's hard to believe because I barely look 19. I'm just kidding.
You look amazing.
Thank
Got
you.
your lashes, got your pink glasses.
I got these lashes on the first try. So
I'm proud of you. I couldn't even be bothered today.
yes, I've been married to Tony for 19 years. I have a daughter who is 16, and I am deep in the throes of teaching her how to drive. And I have a son who is 12. So we have got middle school stuff going on, and we've got high school stuff going on. So my life is a real roller coaster in the best ways.
I I relate,
Oh wait, and
but
don't
I
dog Brody. Sorry,
I
he's
think your doggy is amazing. We couldn't even hear Brody, but I'm happy he's there. If you need to deal with Brody, Brody is part of this conversation
part of my
because
family. I told him I would mention him during this interview. So, and my
he's
dog.
the shop dog.
That's right.
But so here's the thing: you've been married 19 years. You've got a 16-year-old, got a 12-year-old, and you started your third child in 2018. But were you an entrepreneur before this? Or was this an accidental venture?
I guess I was always a budding entrepreneur or an entrepreneur waiting to happen. As you mentioned, I'm a two-time HBCU grad, and so I have two business degrees. And so, but to be quite honest, I always felt like what do they say, a square peg in a round hole. I worked corporate jobs for a bit, and then when I found out I was going to have my daughter, I stopped working and I stayed at home with her. And I was a full time stay at home mom. And so, I thought that other job was really hard. I thought the corporate gig was super hard, but that was definitely, I will say one of the toughest periods of my life. It was super exciting, but also, it's grueling work. And so while I felt like I had a little bit of relief in leaving something that didn't feel particularly fulfilling to me, I was always itching to do something in addition to being that mom. And so I had, always had a side hustle, a side gig. I launched a kids event planning business with one of my grad school partners. Shout out to Tiff Cole and Bailey Blue events back in the day. And then I also launched a kids subscription book club when my daughter was around 4 or 5, as she was learning to read, kind of in an effort to get her excited about what it meant to be reading. And so not to have it be this thing that she needed to learn to do, but this thing that she looked forward to doing. And she did with her friends and snacks and, all the things that we grow up to do with our grown up book clubs. We started doing that super, super early with her. And so When it was time for me to kind of turn the literal page, I stayed at home with my daughter, I stayed at home with my son, but when it was time for him to start school, I had a decision to make, whether I would go back to this corporate gig or what I would do next. And so that is when I asked myself, like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And so that was started to be the beginnings, the seeds of what became Brave and Kind Books. So I did it. I said, leap and the net will appear, and it did, sort of.
Well, no, I was like leap and the
Net
full-time job with a storefront and chaos and fun and all kinds of celebrities coming through. I wouldn't even, this is more than a net, sis.
yeah,
This is a if you change your lifestyle overnight. You didn't just like, oh, I'm going to, just like, I'm going to try. You went directly into it. How did it start? Did you go from this is my idea
yeah.
to actual storefront? Because you did have the subscription book, but that was totally separate from
And
this.
so I felt like it was that was like I said, the seeds that were planted, and this was kind of a combo of this space that I felt like I needed for myself and my own kids, as I wanted to raise them to be readers. And when they were small and I was looking for books to share with them that had stories and faces that looked like theirs, there were things out there, but I wanted to find more things that really invoked a spirit and celebration and joy. And so, and while I love my girl Harriet Tubman and Martin Luther King and all of those books, I think those stories are so important, obviously, to share. I wanted to have a place when people came, they would not have to look far to find stories that resonated with the people that they were and that they were raising, and the importance of sharing everybody. So
I love it. And it's such a great place to have a space. It's such a whole thing. It's such a cute space. And I think one of the things is what I always have to say, shout out to Deneen Milner. Years ago, she wrote Kids Need More Than Harriet Tubman for the New York Times. And that was a cornerstone for me in getting my loins together to write the books that I write, right? Because we were the same generation. We were just like, what is this? Like, what is happening? Why do we not have this? How did you go from I'm going to start a bookstore to having a bookstore? What was the timeline? Like, what was the moment that you just realized
that's a
this
good
is it?
question. I took the space that we're in now. I was in there taking a sewing class. It was a sewing studio at the time, and I saw this mompreneur, and I asked if she would mind if I could come back and just have a conversation with her about how she had this idea, and now she's standing in this space, this community that she created. And so I set that meeting. I came back. This was May, and by the end of the conversation that I was having with her, she was offering me the space. So I really wasn't prepared at that very moment. I had the idea. I had started to put together a business plan, and I had a little savings, but I was really still in the idea phase. But she had an opportunity to move into a bigger space, and I said, go for it. And so I launched a crowdfunding campaign to really, as a litmus test, to see if it was something that the community would support, and also to raise some seed bunnies to get the ball rolling, because I felt like it was now or never, and that the universe really was opening up for me right now.
And obviously that was a success. Talk to us about the incredible crowdfunding opportunity, because it wasn't just local people that supported you.
Right. It was friends and friends of friends, and family members, and people that I had never met, that really believed and supported the vision of Brave and Kind Books, which is to celebrate and elevate representation in children's books, and a few grown-up books aimed at helping us all become better humans.
Now, a lot of people listening to this are very inspired. They too have dreams of following their dreams and pursuing their passion. I love what you said about you were looking for something that you would do if you couldn't fail, right? And capital is a huge issue. Finding the startup funds, especially on such short notice. For anyone listening, do you suggest even today, like you would have done this in 2017, 2018, in 2025 and beyond, do you still think crowdfunding is a good way to litmus test people's interest?
That's a good question. Yes, I would say, all they can say is no, and something is better than nothing, and it gives you a reason to reach out to people, and make contact and share your idea. And so I do think it is a good test to see who would get on board. But I will also say, don't let that to stop you from continuing to move forward. So $5, $5,000, $50,000, it's the seed that gets you going. And one of the things, that I'll say struggled against is really just deciding for myself. One of my business partners, is also my bookkeeper, and I was running these numbers with her, and as before we got started, and sobbing on her sofa, like, is this something I should really do? Because these numbers are not looking great. Because the margins in book sales are not that great. You really have to do all the things and pull out all of the razzle dazzle to make it really work. And so she's like, if this business plan could say you're going to make nothing, or it could say you're going to make $1 million, and you have to decide whether you're going to do it either way. And so that was really, I feared more not trying than I feared trying and failing. And so that's what drove me.
I love that because you always would have wondered. And now you know what? I can do something that the
Yeah.
world notices and knows. When you talk about razzle dazzle, so much of this is marketing, which is so unfair, right? Because the idea itself is amazing. The space is great. If you build it, they will come. That's
Mhm.
not necessarily true. You have to have the pieces, you have to make the place look cute, you have to be open appropriate hours, and you have to have a good name, right?
Mhm.
And I think that the name of your bookstore is one of the reasons it's so beloved and successful. And it's a great reason why you named your bookstore Brave and Kind, right?
Absolutely. I hope that would be the case. A part of it was for me, because I wanted to do something that felt brave and kind for myself and for my community, for my family. But also, I wanted people to think about what it meant to them to be brave and kind. And so it was in the middle of, that election that happened during that time, or that whole season, and I really wanted to do something that flew in the face of what the world was trying to tell people that look like me that they were, who they could be. And so, again, I wanted to do something that inspired folks to think about, what does it mean to be brave and kind, and to share stories that inspire them to do just that.
And listen, there are interviews that I have seen of you where
Oh, here.
many people like to talk a lot about all of that. Anyone
Mhm.
who's interested can go watch those. We all feel the same way. So we're going to stay positive and focused on growth and enjoyment
That's
in
right.
this podcast
That's right.
because there's nothing we can't say that we don't already feel in our hearts, right? And here we are, it's Groundhog's Day, and you are still out in these streets being brave and kind in a time where we especially need it. One of the things about being a brave and kind bookseller, when you open up a children's bookstore, it's delightful. Most of the customers are delighted. You're changing children. I mean, I think one of the things that you've said, which I love, is our hopes for our children are that they are brave and kind, right? And so books are how one of the ways that you can teach and learn about this. But the world of book selling is not necessarily kind. It's not all peaches and cream. Like you said, the margins are slim. The publishing industry itself is weird and finicky. It's not easy being an independent bookseller.
Mhm. Mhm. That's the truth. So, what do we do? Is that the question?
I'm asking. I mean, what do we do? This is what I want to know. Because, and I think one of the things, because again, so, and we'll talk a little bit more about like the other things you have going on too. But in order to do an independent bookstore, why there's not one is that it's very hard to get it off the ground, to get it going, and then the book industry itself is set up to semi-fail. Could you explain a little bit about how does one stock a children's bookstore? It's not like a library. Like, how do you have the books in the bookstore?
How do you stock a bookstore? So we create partnerships with the publishers. We create partnerships with our author friends so that they can advocate for coming and hanging out at an independent bookstore as opposed to going to some of these other kind of retail big box places. We try and create as much community as we can through offering special events that you can only experience amongst the shelves and the pages of an actual independent bookstore. And we do our best to, I mean, if we're getting to the nitty gritty nuts and bolts, is negotiate as best you can with these publishers to get rates that are that can work for you.
So you can negotiate. So you can say yesterday's price is not today's price. You can say, how does that work? What? So they say.
So I said sometimes, maybe
Sometimes.
if they're in a good mood, not all the time. Sometimes yesterday's price is today's price, but sometimes if you're really nice and you're easy to work with, and you can move the needle just a little, not much, but some.
And then you mentioned the events are very important for people because you can order from, by the way, anyone can order from Ravenkind Bookstore online. We will talk about that a little bit later, and links obviously will be everywhere for you to be able to purchase from Bunnie. But how important to your business model are these events? Because you have events with incredible people, big celebrities. Talk about some of the people that you've had come through your doors and
Wow.
what impact that has on your bottom line.
I mean, it feels so just magical and full circle. And this is why we're doing this. I mean, I actually feel that way with celebrity authors, but also with debut authors as well, just because they come into this space and everyone is just so attentive and ready to hear the story. And the conversations are so down to earth. And I keep using the word magical because it does feel, I remember when Renee Watson came and we filled our little shop with chairs and standing room only. And she was sharing Black Girl, You Are Atlas. And, that conversation, we were laughing, we were crying. And I'm always thinking, gosh, I wish there were even more people that were here to hear and experience this give and take of celebration and history and stories and sisterhood and just all of the things. And so, I think having events is definitely for us a very important part of our business model. It helps us not to necessarily rely on everyday foot traffic to meet our sales goals for each month. We have been fortunate enough to host the likes of Tabitha Brown and Janelle Monáe and Jada Pinkett, and recently Anika Noni Rose came and when she released her new Tiana's Perfect Plan, the picture book, and we are just getting my tiara ready to meet her and working on my curtsy. And she was just such a delight. She was a real live princess, and I just feel so blessed and fortunate to be able to hold space for families to come in and see and experience that.
I love it. And I love that you refer to it all as magical because that's what it is. I mean, if many people, if it wasn't for you, would never set foot inside of a bookstore anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's very true. I think, and one of the other pieces of what we get to do is work with some of our nonprofit partners who are also raising money and funds and awareness. And they partner with us to not only bring Anika Noni Rose to the Central Library, which is, of course, free and open to all. And we sometimes get to partner with them in such a way where they are using their nonprofit dollars to provide free books to the folks that are able to come and attend, but also to take these same authors into schools who might not on any other occasion be able to see and meet and have a book of their very own from this author. And so, yeah, it's magic. It's magic.
Mm-hmm. And so much of this was you really wanted your kids to be readers. You really wanted them to love the magic of books just like you. Is this a family business? Are they involved? Is your 16-year-old and your 12-year-old
It's not my
at
fault.
that register?
She is sometimes. She's more. You're more likely to find her underneath the register reading, which is
Oh,
it's
what is
fun.
that? That must be so fun.
It's fun. It's fun and cute. But I don't think she wants. She right now she's saying that she's not. That's not her thing. But that's also just very 16 of her to be like, that's your thing, mama. I'm doing my thing. And so, but I do love that she loves to read and she loves stories. My son, he's a work in progress. I'll have to. I met this one publicist who told me that she pays her son to read, so I felt less guilty about paying my son to read.
Girl,
So,
we do what we got. We do what we got to do with these boys.
exactly.
Let me tell you, we do what we got it with any child who is reticent. You do what you got to do. Okay.
It'll all shake out in the end, and he'll be so glad that he read all those books and have some fat pockets too. So
I
good for
love that.
he's like,
No.
look, he is an entrepreneur apparently.
Okay, well, with the money that he's getting paid to read them books, he will get to go off and do his own thing. You started this before COVID, in the wake of 2016, before COVID, during COVID. Here we are now, 2025. When would you say that you felt what would you say was the moment that you were like, brave and kind is a thing? Like, what was like your realization that you were a bona fide
You know,
shop girl, founder, owner,
I
bookseller?
don't know. Imposter syndrome is a
No,
real.
don't have it. You know what? Everybody on this podcast, same way. We're like, we are all the worst, right? That's actually why I do it, because like I have all these little entrepreneurial dreams. I come from entrepreneurship completely transformed my family. But the imposter syndrome gets us all, and it's so funny because it's very successful people like you, venture capitalists. They're like, I don't know if I am successful
I
yet. I was like,
know.
girl, please.
I'm having to karate chop and kick imposter syndrome every day. It's like it's not even. It's. I mean, it's a real thing. I mean, I think, but to circle back, I in those moments where I'm introducing Anika Noni Rose, where I'm standing next to Renee Watson, when I am, and introducing her to an audience of people that are just so excited and primed to hear what she has to say and read her next book. That feels very real to me. That feels I hate to use the word. I was talking to my sister yesterday about needing validation and what that looks like. And so, she ran down the laundry list of all of the things that I have accomplished and that I don't need this thing or that thing to validate me, that it is a real thing. And, when I came into this business, I decided if I only sold one book, there would be someone in the world who had a story that they got from Brave and Kind Bookshop. And that means a lot to me. So
That's beautiful. And so you've sold more than one book.
I
How
have.
many books do you think you've sold
Oh my
in
goodness!
your 6 years of
No
being?
idea. Oh, I have no idea. I don't know why that question's taken me aback. I mean, sometimes we will sell 600 books at one time. When Rick Riordan and Marco Shiro came to the Gwinnett Convention Center, we sold 1,000 tickets, and certainly sold more than 1,000 books at that time. So that's a good question. I don't know if I really want to know the answer to that, because then I'll just start comparing it to somebody else's numbers.
So many,
Out of
so
that.
many books. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because, we talked about imposter syndrome. We talked about, because like, a lot of people would know, off the back, like, okay, these are the numbers. This is the stats. You're like, I don't want to know. It takes the magic out of it. It
I,
takes the magic out of it. Because remember, this is Brave and this is not ROI
that's right.
bookstore. This is Brave and Kind bookstore. And you mentioned earlier that it's funny because I thought you were going to talk about your children being brave and kind. I'm so touched that you said that I wanted to be brave and kind. And I mean, I almost started crying because so much of life as a person, as an individual, and as a mother is showing up for others. So
Yeah.
how has being a mompreneur helped you show up for yourself? You said that you started this because you wanted to be kind to yourself. How has being a mompreneur been something that's made you be kind to yourself?
Part of that, you mentioned that part of being a mom is just really kind of sacrificing so much of yourself for others, and that's something that I have also learned from my own mom. I was telling her just the other day that I love you, Mama, but did not do a good job of teaching me how to prioritize myself. And so that's still it's still a struggle to tell myself that I deserve to do and do fun things just for the sake of having fun. But I wanted to leave that legacy for my own children. I wanted them to see me doing this thing so that they could give themselves permission to be brave and kind, to go after your dreams, to start something from scratch, to fail and start over, to see that. I wanted them to see that version of me as opposed to this person who went to, picked up my briefcase and went to work every day. That this is good too.
I love it. They get to see all sides of Bunnie.
Listen, yeah, they got some. Listen, I had some disappointing news, which I won't share, but I allowed myself to be vulnerable. They knew the news that I was waiting for, and we talked about it, and just how exciting it would be. And I got the news that it wasn't, this thing that I was working on was not going to come to fruition. And so I got lots of hugs. I got lots of, "Mommy, we're really proud of you." I got lots of just, "Do you want me to make you some tea, Mama?" I sure do. Absolutely.
Aww. I love that, because the thing is that failure is part of the process, right? Like
Mhm,
you
mhm.
you don't get everything. You get
Yeah.
what you get. You don't get, you can get upset for a little bit, right? Like that, like we were raised, you get what you get, you don't get upset. But I actually love your iteration. You get what you get upset a little bit, and
Mhm.
you keep on moving.
That's right.
It's great role modeling actually that you have this very prominent business. You have this business that all of these people going through, debut authors, local authors, and major celebrities as well. And sometimes the sky's the limit, and sometimes the struggle is real.
Yep. Yep. Indeed.
And you continue to push on. So we're going to push the bad news aside because you have some exciting things, and it's perfect for what I like my next segment to be called, which is Mompreneurs Manifestation, because I always ask each of our guests what they are trying to make happen and how we can help to manifest it into the universe for you. Tell us about what you're hoping happens next with Brave and Kind.
Like I have to get everybody to sign a non-disclosure agreement, sign that NDA. I'm kidding.
I was like, oh wait, no, you didn't mention that before. My bad. I'm not trying to get suited up in here.
No, absolutely. So these are what is it? Things that I'm working on, things that I would love to bring to fruition, things that we are taking some baby steps towards, um, on the horizon. Part of what we've always wanted to have at Brave and Kind Books is, and when we started, I mentioned how it was okay. One day I'm standing in here having this conversation with the lady who's the shopkeeper, and then the next day, in the same breath, she's like, "Hey, do you want this space?" And so then I'm raising money, and then I'm trying to figure out how to be a bookseller because I didn't have that background at all. I have a business background, but it's pretty old and dusty at this point. Lots of things have changed in how many years, and so just to try to learn that business in addition to having a coffee shop felt like a really daunting task. And so I told myself that would be phase 2 of Brave and Kind. And so I roped a couple of business partner friends in, and we are working hard to bring the cafe to Brave and Kind. So that's on the horizon. I'm super excited about that, selfishly because I love coffee and I want to learn how to make fancy coffee and make it for myself and get all excited on my caffeine every day, and share that with our community. So just also another way to create more space for community in the store as well. But
That's
selfishly.
the beauty of it. That's such a great thing for the community. I mean, we laugh, we're like, oh, I like coffee. But you know what? Everyone else likes coffee. Everyone else wants a cool place where they can buy books, like we used to have.
That's right.
You're literally toiling
Yeah.
to create the spaces that nurture
Yep.
and grow and heal.
Mm-hmm. That's what are they calling it? That third space. I mean,
The
that's
third space.
that's the business term for it, but I'm not. It's for us, right? And so we took a trip to New York a couple of weeks back to visit my friend Kalima at Cafe Con Libros, who has a coffee shop, bookshop space too. So she was so gracious enough to kind of give us the little tour and give us the spiel and give us the pep talk. And so I'm excited about that.
I love that. Now, see, I think this is an amazing thing to manifest, but I'm not gonna lie. I always have wondered. I'm so excited to actually get to talk to you. When people love books so much, so I love books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you are so talented, you're so well read, are you interested in writing your own children's
I
books
am,
as
yes,
well?
I am.
Because like why I say that is I always feel like everyone time like yeah I am. Why
Yeah.
is it not something you say?
I don't know. You are. Look, we already talked about that. I think you know. Anyway, I try to make that. I honestly, and I don't want to burst anybody's, make anybody feel bad, but I really find myself to be a pretty average reader. I am a fan of stories, and I feel like maybe I'm a slow reader because I have books and a book collector and a collector of stories and a sharer of stories, and so I think there are so many stories that are still yet to be told. You know, I thought what I wanted to be when I grew up was Oprah Winfrey, right? But then I realized
I mean,
quickly
all
that
of us did.
exactly. Wow. But listen, but I, unlike you, I'm not a great. I I don't enjoy talking in front of large groups of people or small groups of people, so that wasn't it. But what I found out or what I learned about what I really wanted to do or what I really appreciated about Oprah Winfrey is the way that she made people feel, and she made them feel seen, and she made them feel heard, and she made them feel inspired. And that's what I hope to do with the books that we're sharing and the stories that we're sharing. And I'd like to be a part of that as well.
I love that. And I think that's really great. And first and foremost, you are, again, imposter syndrome. You are very good at talking. I've listened to a lot of the things you've said in a lot of
Oh
different ways. I've
Lord.
seen your Instagram lives. I
Okay.
have seen your intros. I've seen your panel talks. We are always the hardest on ourselves. And also, just because you're a slow reader doesn't mean you're not a great reader or just an average reader. But if you ever do want to write your own books, I think that is you have the conduit. You've got the place to sell them.
Yeah.
And we are, of course, always here to help you however we can. Thank you so much for being here with us today. This was incredible. You are incredible. Where can people find you and be supportive?
Seriously. Sorry.
Hey, let me see. Hello. He was just like, wait, this interview is over and I haven't gotten my cameo. How did he have the perfect timing? Let me see. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. They were like, excuse me. Have you seen my headshot and resume? For those of you who are listening, who just showed up?
Brody made his appearance. He said we were doing an interview. You said you were going to introduce me, Mama, and I did. I told him about you.
Rhodey was like, I need the world to see this face. What kind of dog is Rhodey?
Brody's a rescue dog, but he's some type of retriever mix. He looks like a Nova Scotian tolling duck retriever, but we rescued him from his mama. Had like 8 puppies, and yeah, so
I love that.
he's a really
Oh
good
my
one.
goodness. Okay. All right. Before Rhodey entered the chat, we were mentioning how can people find you and support, whether they are in Decatur, Atlanta, Georgia, United States, or worldwide.
Yes, you can find us always on braveandkindbookshop.com. Please visit our website. It's so fun. All of the pictures of the books, we put them on this really special, fun, colorful carpet that we have in the store so that it feels like you're in the store when you're shopping our site. We hope that is what our goal was, to invoke that feeling. And so we started doing that during the pandemic when we weren't allowing people into the store so that they could still feel like they were.
I was very excited when you did the carpet square for Bedtime Bonnet right here. It was like super exciting. I remember, and again, I didn't know you at all. I was just like, oh, this is really cool. Like, oh. So braveandkindbookstore.com. You can order books. Talk to us about the importance of like when you choose to order a book through an independent bookstore. What you're not just supporting that person, you're supporting the community. Like you're like creating that third space. You know, if you're paying a couple extra dollars extra,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You know, we like the guy that we won't name that's got his little spaceship going to space and all the stuff that he's doing. You know, they are selling books for at a loss, and they can afford to do that. And so, you know, while we do have some times where we throw a little discount out there on Sundays if you shop with us online and you're part of our email subscriber list, and we want to show you our thanks. Um, you know, largely we, you know, every time a book purchase is made, someone is literally doing dropping it like it's hot, right? And just because it's supporting, it's supporting families and it's supporting the community. And you know, if you have the extra dollar or two to spare, we really appreciate it.
Love it. Braveandkindbookstore.com. And you're also on Instagram.
Oh, it's braveandkindbookshop.com.
Oh my God. Brave. Do you also have bookstore?
Mm-mm.
You should get it and have it lend. Have it.
So we have braveandkindbooks.com and braveandkindbookshop.com, and both of those go to the same place. But you're right, we should do Brave and Kind Bookstore
This is
too,
amazing.
just in case. Yeah.
Why bookshop? This is just. I'm just.
Yeah,
kidding. Why bookshop?
I just like the way it feels more.
Yeah, it's upscale. It's like I'm a bookshop. I'm not a bookstore. I'm a shop girl. I'm not a store girl.
I'm not, exactly, not a storekeeper. I'm a shopkeeper.
This is the verve you have going. Did you do all of the decorating, the design? Where did you get your? How did you do? Because it's really cool. I have my, as we can see from this, I have the worst. I love me. I'm a great author, but I can't design to save my life. Who designed your Who designed? Did you do all this?
I did. No one can afford a designer in the onset, and I mean I think I have pretty good taste, aesthetic a little bit. So
you do. Look at you right now. You look amazing.
Thank you.
I couldn't pull off that beanie.
I mean,
it looks great.
I did the best I could today.
You're winning at life, and your store's winning at life. So you did. Where did you get your? Because I laughed. Someone was like, "Thank you, Wayfair." Where did you pick up?
Thank you, IKEA. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, you know what? And one of our shop girls, she builds things, and she built our tables. And our events manager, her dad is a builder, and he built the console in the front of the store. And so it's a group effort. It's a community.
I love it. So, excuse me, I am a country girl with no class. It is Brave and Kind Bookshop.com or braveandkindbooks.com. And when we're looking at this and we're thinking about it, if someone's listening to this, they're just like, oh my gosh, I wish I could open up my own bookstore. What would you suggest to a budding mompreneur? What?
Don't do it there. I'm kidding.
Well, what would you say to, well, you jumped into it. Sewing machine lady was like, I need a bigger space, which, what, does she have the bigger space still? Sewing, okay. So sewing machine.
She moved into like a big shopping mall, plaza area, and then the pandemic.
Oh gosh, you can't virtually sew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually did create quite a cool online shop sewing community. So, you know.
Oh, wow. You did. Well, so she was able to transition. But okay, but you went from, like, I got an idea to, I got a shop. What is your suggestion from, what is something you've learned along the way for anyone who wants to create a third space like yours in their own community?
Mm-hmm. What have I learned? What would I tell?
What would you share? What would you learn that you feel comfortable sharing?
No.
You're like, I got a lot to learn. I'll share it anonymously.
Exactly. I would share, you know, just trust yourself and trust your gut and take baby steps. You know, that's what I found myself doing in the hardest times during the pandemic, when I just felt like I had no idea what was up or down, is to tell myself to just keep moving forward, just keep taking baby steps, and those baby steps were turned into larger steps, and you'll make it to the end, or you'll keep making strides. And so, yeah, don't overthink it. Just keep going.
I love that. Bunnie Hilliard of Brave and Kind Bookshop. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget, that's braveandkindbookshop.com or braveandkindbooks.com. You can find her on social media, and you can find her in Decatur at this incredible Georgian bookstore. Thank you
That's
all so much for listening and watching. Bunnie, you're phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nancy. I'm so glad to meet you and to see your beautiful face. And
I'm going to come to you one day in person. I've gone on no book tour. So my books came out during the pandemic. So like it was just weird, right?
yeah,
But we're going to figure that out offline and online while you all are listening or watching. Thank you so much. Mompreneurs, as a reminder, comes out every week, every Monday. You can find us on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urbanonepodcast.com to learn more. That's urban1podcasts.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Red. Executive produced by Allison McGovna and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.